Hi, this is Quick Apogean again, and I'll quickly try to explain certain features of Apogea. It's all based on a February 2025 playtest, so some of the stuff might be different on release. Usually, after a creature dies, it drops some loot. It appears as a loot bag on the ground, and at the time of making this guide, any loot is accessible by anyone who is nearby. You open that bag and either drag and drop the item to your personal backpack, shift click the item, or just press loot all button to pick it all up. This might lead to a situation where you collect stuff that you don't really want. Luckily, there's a loot blacklist. Hold Ctrl and click on the item you want to exclude. When options pop up, hold Alt key and select Add to Blacklist. If you accidentally added something there or want to review it, hit Escape and open Loot List section. This icon here means you are hungry and your regeneration is not working. To resolve that, you have to eat some food, like cheese from rats or bread slice from bandits. And you are good for a couple of minutes. Always keep some food on you, because it's cheap, it's easy to come by, and it will be your only source of regeneration at first. There are certain recipes you can use to make it better, like combining cheese and bread, but advanced food should be expanded in another guide. Regeneration from food is affected by HP regen and MP regen stats, which tick once every 10 seconds. Having 5 HP regen and 3 MP regen means you're getting 5 health and 3 mana every 10 seconds of being fed. You start the game as a squire and you can advance to one of 3 classes in Apogea. The only difference between classes are their stat multipliers. Knight gets much more health, capacity and defensive stats, for example, but the trade-offs are lower magic and mana-related bonuses. Rogues benefit from better damage stats and a considerable increase to casting stats. Mages take a hit to their physical abilities and survivability, but they get a huge boost to their magical capabilities. Each stat bonus, both from equipment and from leveling up, is affected by these multipliers. For example, a rogue will get 1 point of mana regen for every extra point in that characteristic, but a knight needs to spend 2 stat points to see any effect. But for each added health point, a knight gets an extra one. There is no limit to how creative you can get. Technically, you can make a knight spellcaster or a rogue tank. It's all a matter of optimizing your build. You'd probably love to play an archer or a fireball casting mage from the get-go, but unfortunately that's not the best idea. Arrows either cost 1 gold each or require a certain spell to conjure them, which is only available at a bit higher level, so being a low-level archer is not cost-effective at all, and you'd be broke within minutes. If you're planning on going the archer route, you should stick to melee. Swords, daggers and shields for the first 15 levels at least. As for playing a mage, at low levels your mana pool, mana regen or the low number of spells within your reach just wouldn't allow you to fully embrace the fantasy, as you would be spending most of the time running around with no mana. If you want a mage, it might be better to stay a squire and use a melee weapon until level 18 at the very least, because as a new player you won't have the means or experience to keep up with mana requirements. Spells aren't limited by class, and you don't automatically get them just by leveling up. You learn spells by using a spellbook item. Each one has a magic level requirement. And after doing that for the very first time, a hotkey bar should appear at the bottom of the screen. You can click on any of the empty hotbar slots, Search for the spell that you've learned, click it, and then click the slot you want to assign it to. Make sure you have enough mana, and try casting it. Mana regen, just like HP regen, is only functional when you are not hungry. There are certain NPCs around the map, which are class trainers and allow you to irreversibly choose your class. It costs 100 gold. Knights have a trainer called Ulrich at the Eastern Gate. Rogues can be trained by Sabrina or Eofor. Mages train under the Mausoleum. There are other NPCs who can teach you, but these are the ones that are the easiest to find. I have mentioned builds earlier in the video. So, this is your skill tree, which you can open by pressing N. It's pretty large and has a lot of meaningful modifiers, which might completely change the way your character plays and performs. There are many talented people who could probably do a full analysis of each skill, so let me keep this short. You are new and there will be time for a respec later. You should focus on Unnatural Foe because it's a very good early game choice for every playstyle. It's 4 extra damage to every attack, and after upgrading it, it goes to 7 and 12. It requires putting points into pondering it, but it's still worth it. You can also consider putting a point into stabbing preference if you are using daggers, or going towards bread and butter if you are planning to run around with a sword and a shield. True Grip is also a good choice, as it regenerates mana with every attack, as long as you are wearing gloves, which are an offhand item, replacing shield or the second weapon. Anyways, there's a lot of theory crafting potential, especially when you get equipment to complement your stats and these bonuses from the skill tree. You might often find yourself trying to figure out how to get behind these rocks or how to get to a lower level which is right next to you. Well, the game world is built like a maze and it's all intention. It's a 3D labyrinth built like spaghetti. You are supposed to get lost. You have to explore and learn how to navigate around areas, which is a part of the challenge. A good idea is to ask every NPC for location or directions, as well as click on every signpost. That way, location names will be added to your map. You can also add custom markers to the map yourself, which is an incredibly useful feature. You might have seen it mentioned by other players in the game. Caravan is a location southeast of Basil, where a bunch of NPCs sell a ton of gear, including bows, staves, heavy helmets, and various spells. It's also the location of Mage Trainer, and you can complete a cooking tutorial there. The NPCs despawn at certain night hours and are unavailable until morning. If an item is of uncommon rarity, it means it weighs less than the normal version. If an item is of rare quality, it also weighs less, but also has increased stats by about 25 to 30%. It's possible to upgrade items, but it's quite an investment and details might be covered in a future material. Armor is a stat found on equipment pieces and it gives you a flat reduction as well as minor percentage reduction to the damage you receive. As you are probably low level, for quick calculations you can consider that each 2 points of armor decrease the damage from every attack by 1 point. Defense stat is usually found on shields and weapons, and it's a simple flat reduction to every attack you receive, but it's heavily affected by the number of attackers on you. The more monsters are onto you, the less effective your defense gets. 2 enemies mean your defense damage reduction is half as effective. 3 enemies on you divide the defense in 3, and so on. Elevators are activated by pulling a lever next to them. You teleport somewhere. It sometimes might be a one-way trip. Some levers might stay inactive until you start a quest or trigger it in some other way. To use rope posts, you need to have a rope in your inventory. It is available via quests as a loot from some monsters, or you can purchase it from an NPC. It teleports you somewhere, and, a warning, it often is one way only. You can only use rope posts that are next to you and on the same level vertically. Some rope posts are only usable out of combat, especially those around strong enemies or in quest areas. So always make sure you are able to survive whatever is waiting on the other side. In order to use shovel holes, which look like this, you need to have a shovel in your inventory. Same functionality and dangers as rope, but different visuals. To use manholes, which look like this, you need to have a crowbar in your inventory. Same functionality and dangers as a rope or shovel, but also different visuals. Thank you, and see you next time.